Each year, hundreds of young girls are forced into the dirty, grimy world of prostitution. And this is in America too, not just in third world countries like in Bolivia and South Africa. This is everywhere, from the streets of New York to right down the road from your neighborhood house. To some, it's ridiculous. How could you sell yourself for money? But to those who are, it's their way of life. That's how they create money for food, to provide for them, to provide for their families. The average entering age of a prostitute in America is 13 to 14 years old. Can you imagine a 13-year-old girl going out there selling her body for money? Like, me personally, I cannot wrap my head around that. To some, it's ridiculous and outlandish, but to them, that's their way of life. Good morning, class. My name is Krista Day. I'm a student here at ASU, and I'm currently studying sociology with a focus on human sexual interaction. The reason I'm here today is to persuade by proposition of policy that prostitution should be a legal form of a legal profession in the United States for those over the age of 21 and those that are free willing. Today we'll hear about the problems these workers have faced on the job, uncover causes that created these problems, and address the solutions to be acted upon. Now, according to the survey I sent out, 41% of those who responded did not know that prostitution was legal in some parts of the country. Well, if it's already legal in some parts, what am I trying to persuade you about? The problem with prostitution as it stands now is that it's very uncontrolled. When it is controlled, it's in brothels. In the state of Nevada, if there's a county with a population less of 400,000 people, then you're able to have a brothel. But those girls go under screening, like heavy screenings, there's very tight-knit, and there's a lot of paperwork and records kept. The problem with the prostitution in our country today is the streetwalkers. It's illegal, they're out, it's dirty, it's grimy, it's bad. Many of the prostitutes use money to get drugs. This is a myth, and it's true. According to interviews that Lynn Stankiewicz has done with 12 former prostitutes, she had found that most prostitutes don't start out using drugs. A majority of them are using them as coping mechanisms to deal with the abuse and the stresses of their jobs. Many use them just to get to the next client so they can have money to live off of. Granted, while both you and I and an average education person would know that this is not a healthy way of coping with stress, this is all that they know. Figure, most prostitutes start out at the age of 13 or 14. They don't have the proper education that is necessary to know how to deal with this type of stress. A common practice of most prostitutes is unprotected sex. And drug use leads to the spread of STDs as well as this. According to the National Geographic Taboo series video Prostitution, they state that influence of drugs leads to even more risky behaviors such as unprotected sex. It is estimated that a prostitute will have unprotected sex up to 300 times per year. The sharing of needles also spreads diseases such as HIV and AIDS. While they're selling sex as a service, they can still fall victim to sexual assault, not only by their clients, but as their pimps as well. On average, a prostitute is beaten roughly 58 times by their pimp. And this is only reported cases. This does not include the cases and the times where they are beaten by their clients. And most prostitutes are too scared to actually speak of any abuse or any assaults that they have received. There are also many underage prostitutes on the streets as well. With the average first-year prostitute being 14 in America, most girls are underage. And 40% of all prostitutes over the age of 18 start out as child prostitutes. So a majority of, almost half, go from a child to be an adult. There's also a high death rate with prostitutes. It is actually the deadliest profession in America. It outranks the fishing jobs out in the seas of Alaska. For every 100,000 prostitutes, 204 will die each year. This is the highest mortality rate in the workforce. In the same survey that I had conducted, 66% of you have seen a prostitute here in America. And many of you recall seeing them from all corners of this country, from New York, Las Vegas, LA, and even here in Tempe. So there has to be causes to this, right? The cause of a problem can be traced to one major source: the lack of enforcement in current laws. It is illegal in 49 states to solicit sex. According to the Visual Academic Infographic in America, 80,000 citizens are arrested a year for soliciting sex. 70% are women, 20% are men, and 10% are the clients themselves. From these arrests, taxpayers pay over $200 million in court and jail fees on average per year. So if you were to make it so it's legal, these arrests would not be happening, or at least they would go down. Granted, prostitution would still be illegal, but it would be controlled. That's what I'm going for. For the sake of these workers, the only way to end the drug use, spread of STDs, sexual assault, underage workers, and even murder is to make it a legal profession in the United States for those who are over the age of 21 and those of free will. By making it a legal profession, we would be able to limit it to brothels and cut out street walking. It would set a controlled and safer environment for these workers. It would also have all workers and clients tested and checked for diseases to stop the spread of STDs. And it will make sure all prostitutes would be of legal age. It would also limit the amount of drugs on the streets, and the number of sexual assaults and abuse would go down as well. In conclusion, today we have uncovered some issues that the prostitutes have faced for hundreds of years. Even if you don't agree with their profession, it is still a way of making money. Everybody needs to be able to eat and support themselves, and sometimes even support a family. They're not monsters or freaks, they're just humans trying to make a living just like you and me. Almost 60% of you said that you have looked down on someone who has ever been involved in prostitution. Now, is this because you find it immoral, or just simply because it's illegal? Because half of you would not be opposed to making prostitution legal working profession in the United States. So what can you do? You can call a congressman or a congresswoman getting a bill to legalize prostitution, but make sure you do your research on the bill to make sure you know that you're informed on what you're trying to pass. Because you never know when you or maybe someone else will have to be forced to this extreme to support their family.